Okay, today's date is October 23rd, 2022. We're at Bethel Manor in the cottage here, and we're going to interview James Douglas Jones. And he just had a birthday 3 days ago on October 20th, 2022, and that made him 96 years of age. So he was born, what year were you born, James?
1926.
Okay, 1926. So he born 1926. That makes him a baby in World War II. We took people in World War II that were born in 26 and some in 27, but after that, they didn't take too many. So you were a youngster when you went in the war.
Right.
So tell us where you grew up, where you were born, and then how you were recruited, and a little bit about where you grew up and when you were a teenager and those things.
Well, I was born on a mining camp called Diamond, Kentucky, 5 miles west of Providence, Kentucky.
Okay.
And I was born on October the 22nd, my mother said, but my doctor put on the birth certificate October the 20th, and I never knew until I went in service that I had a name, just a day and a day on birth certificate. And when I went in service, a friend of mine said that the doctor, the examiner said, you have to have a name. So a friend of mine said, I'll just put James Douglas on that. And at 18 years old, I got the name of James Douglas instead of J.D. Jones. So now I got James D. Jones, James Jones, and J.D. Jones. The birth certificate got nothing but a J and a D. And that's the name I go by, J.D. Jones. And then when I went into service,
Where's that? Let's see, Providence, Kentucky's about
5 miles west, 5 miles east of Diamond, Kentucky.
Of Diamond, Kentucky, and that's in Morton. That's in near Morton's Gap, or it's in Webster County.
Webster County.
Okay, Webster County, Kentucky, and so that's about 70 miles, 80 miles south of Evansville and Henderson.
Yeah, right.
It's south of Madison, north of Hopkinsville.
Right.
And how big is the population of Diamond, Kentucky?
Diamond, Kentucky, this coal mine, I'd say about 70 people.
So it was a big coal mining area. Your daddy probably was a coal miner, or somebody in your family.
Yeah, they were all people lived there were coal mining. It was just a coal mining town.
And so then you went to grade school?
Yes, I went to grade school. And what we did, we went to grade school in Diamond, Kentucky. But then when I graduated grade school, I had to go to Providence to get to high school. But to get to high school, I had to catch a bus and go around to Wheatcroft, Kentucky, Dixon, and then back to Providence. And there was a school right across the street from me, because I was a kid, and there was a high school there, but it was all white.
Yeah.
And I had to stand on the street and wait on the school bus to pick me up to go through Henderson, Dixon, all the way back to Providence. And in the evening, I had to reverse the skill, go back the opposite way.
About an hour each way?
Each way, and I was the first one on in the morning and the last one off at night.
Wow. Because you couldn't go to the one across the street because you're African American. They would only let the white people go there.
No,
Yeah.
just the white.
In Providence, or it was in Providence.
Providence, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And,
So then you went to most of high school? Did you finish high school?
yes, I finished high school in Providence, Kentucky, which is Providence, yeah.
What year was that?
In 1947.
No.
No, 1945.
45.
1945.
Okay.
April of 45.
Okay, so, and then what did you do after you graduated? Did you get in the Army or Air Force? Or?
Well, what happened is when I went to that, they had a saying or whatever it was, I don't know, policy or what, if you turn 18 before September the 15th, then you could go to school that year. But if you didn't until after that, you had to go a year round. So I had to go a year round because I was 10 days over. And I was actually almost 19 when I got drafted. And so I went into service, and so let's make sure, yeah, I went into service.
Where did you get recruited? What city did you sign up and where did you go to boot camp there, JD?
Boot camp went to Shepherdfield, Texas.
What city?
Shepherdfield, Texas, out of Texas.
Okay, Texas, Summerfield, Texas, okay.
Yeah.
So, but where did you sign up? Where did you enlist at?
Well, I enlisted, they drafted me in Providence, Kentucky.
Right after you graduated or before?
Right after I graduated. And they didn't call me into service until September the 15th, I think it was.
When did they draft you? Do you remember what date they drafted you or what month they drafted you? Was it where
September, it was September, but I don't remember what day it was.
Yeah, okay.
And
then you went to boot camp there in Summerfield, Texas. Did you go by train or did you drive a bus?
no, they by train.
Train.
Yeah, they are really a train that went from here to the Mason-Dixon line, and we could sit anywhere as long as, when we got to Mason-Dixon line, we had to go to the back, even though we were soldiers.
Yeah. Did you have a uniform on when you went to boot? Where did you get your uniform? You get it there in Providence, Kentucky?
They gave me a uniform at Shepherdfield, Texas.
Oh, Shepherdfield, Texas.
Shepherdfield.
I see.
That's where I went to. Terre Haute is where I got inducted in.
Terre Haute, Indiana. I got you.
And then I went to Shepherdfield, Texas, where I got sent to.
And then how long did you go in boot camp? 8 weeks or 6 weeks?
About 8 weeks and all.
And then, was it pretty tough? Did you lose weight or gain weight, or were you pretty good shape before?
I just stayed about the same. I didn't. And that's when I got my names all mixed up because the man told me, said, you will have to take a name. You can't have a J and a D on a birth certificate, so we got that all over, and we got to know who you are if something happened to you. So my friend Don Bell said, this name is James Douglas. And that's what I've been since 1945. James Douglas.
Yeah.
And so I got those three names. And
so you're James, you're JD, and you're James Douglas.
yeah.
3 of them.
yeah.
So then you got to Summerfield, or Shepherd Field in Texas. Was that an Army base or an
Air Force.
Air Force. It was Army Air Corps.
Air Force, yeah.
So you became the Army Air Corps, and then after you got out of boot camp, where did you go and what did you do?
They sent me to Shepherd Field, Texas.
And where was that? Is that near Dallas?
San Antonio.
Oh, San Antonio. And what did they teach you there?
They had us in, well, we were actually what you call producers. See, we were actually producers. Because they had us on detail.
I see.
We got supplies and things ready and whatever.
Yes. So got supplies, got all the planes ready, got everything ready to go up in the air and whatever else they needed.
Yeah. And when I was in the service, I qualified for a radio technician. But there were no openings for blacks at that time in the U.S. service.
At all, for any radio, anywhere.
All white, all white.
Wow. That's 1945 too.
1945.
It was the war over yet?
The war was over, but I went in, let's see, I think the war had dropped one bomb in September and I believe another one in August.
Yeah, August. So they declared peace about September 6th or so, in that range. So you were in,
In the middle of it.
You're right in the middle of it.
Middle of it, yeah.
But they let you be a radio technician. You were the first black radio technician, first African American.
Yeah, they were going to make me one.
Uh-huh.
They were going to, but when all that war and everything happened, in September the 6th, it said,
Yeah.
they transferred me from, I was training at one time to go overseas and tell the Japanese that the war was over. We had to go in these caves and things. That's what I was training for.
Because you'd have been over in Japan, if they would have invaded Japan, you'd have been over there. And you might not be here today because you might not have survived that. And it just because the 2 bombs are dropped and they gave up in September, but you wouldn't be here.
Right, yeah.
So then what the heck did the Army Air Corps do with you? They didn't like you doing radios, or you had a radio technician, but then where'd they send you after that?
Well, after that, they sent me to, not Lockbourne, Coriopolis Army Air Base
Okay.
in Philadelphia.
Okay, so Philadelphia, Coriopolis Air Base.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they saw that I had qualified for radio technician. And then they transferred me to the Tuskegee Airman,
So,
all black Alabama outfit.
right, one of the best. There were 4 areas that Tuskegee's came from, but you were in the Alabama unit, from real Tuskegee.
Yeah. Well,
So then they transferred you down to Tuskegee or somewhere else?
now they sent me to Crestview, Florida.
Where?
Crestview, Florida. That's
Crestview.
Eglin Army Air Base.
Eglin, that's in Florida, isn't
That's
it?
in Florida.
So Eglin, so a Tuskegee unit, was it the 332 or which, do you remember the number you were in? Were you in a pursuit, in a fighter, or in a bomber
I
unit?
was in the fighter group, 99 fighter.
99 fighter group. Yeah, that's a 99. I remember the 99. So you went to Eglin, which is still a base down there in Florida. It's on the east coast of Florida. It's a big base.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a big base. So you went down there from Philadelphia by train.
Yeah.
By train, you didn't fly. You went by train.
By train, everything was by train.
Steam engine, they stop every 100 miles. They stopped a lot, didn't they?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Did you have to sit in the back of the train after you passed the Mason-Dixon line, or they didn't do it to you there?
No, they just did it there, but when the troop train, if you had a troop train, they didn't go by that.
They didn't bother you.
Bother with
I
that
see.
at all.
But in a civilian train, which you went from Terre Haute to Texas, there was a civilian train and they bothered you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you had to go to the back there. They didn't care what.
Yeah.
But I remember a captain, and we were brought up as kids and saying yeah and no and yes sir and no ma'am. And the captain told me I cut the food line. And he said that, hey soldier. And I said, yeah.
Oh, you didn't say yes, sir. You said yeah.
Yeah. He said, what did you say? I said, yeah. He said, come here. And I told people, I said, because his nose was red. His nose was red, and he had a very big nose, and he was a big guy. And he said, what did you say? I said, yeah. What did you want me to say? He said, how long have you been in service? I said, oh, about 4 or 5 months. He said, well, it's about time you're learning something. He said, come go with me. And they put me on KP for 2 days straight.
Because you didn't say yes, sir.
And everybody, I was saying yes, sir, to captains, privates.
Everybody, you said to everybody, anybody, yes, sir. Was that in Eglin or was that up in Philadelphia? In Eglin. And you got caught not saying yes, sir, didn't you? And you said yes, sir to everybody. You didn't know what you were supposed to do, but you said to everybody, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. He called me back again. I said, oh, not again. He said, not as bad the other time. He said, but you're doing okay, but you're overdoing it.
He said you went to the other extreme. That KP duty you did 2 days. You had to wash all those dishes.
Yeah,
You went overboard.
I said, I'm following orders. He said, yeah, but I didn't tell you to salute or obey the privates and everything.
He didn't like you doing it to private. He didn't like that.
He said, you gotta be officer. I said, officers? He said, yeah. He said, the only little guy got stripes on, they're non-commissioned officers. And when the other officers come, they got buttons and shields, showing that they're a general, a colonel, or whatever. And he said, and you saluting a private? And you all both private?
That's pretty humorous. He had to straighten out. Was that about 2 weeks afterwards?
Yeah.
He came back. He said, "Man, I did this guy's. He's doing it too much."
Yeah, he said, I can't believe it. I said, well, you told me, he said, no, I didn't tell you all that now.
So now you're in Eglin,
Yeah.
and you lived in the barracks.
Yeah.
You lived in barracks, and then what'd you do in Eglin?
England, what we was training, we were training as radio technician.
Were you on the plane or in a radio
I
office?
was just on the ground. They were just getting us started. And then an order came in that we should abandon that, all of that, going overseas, telling Japanese of warring over and all of that. And they put me on a plane to go to Coraopolis on the air base, because they needed me in Lot 1 air base in Ohio. And they put me over Bombay, B-25 Bombay, bomb door. They had no room for no passengers or nothing. Put me over that and put a parachute on me. And flew me from A.M. Field to Coraopolis Army Air Base in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And
so they switched your orders. They got you from Eglin to Coraopolis near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
yeah.
On a B-25 in the Bombay, you had a parachute on. They didn't put you didn't go out. You landed. You didn't jump out, did you?
No, they put that on emergency. They told me what to do.
What were you doing in the Bombay? Because that was the only room left.
There was no room left for police. Somebody threw a beer ball, an empty beer ball, and hit the police chief in the Crestview Floyd in the head. And he said, no ends, but not ever set their foot in town no more. And that time our furlough was coming up, the transfer and all, and he told me that I would have to, the only way I could get off the base was to file. And so I didn't know they were going to put me over this Bombay door.
Was it cold up there? Because it was freezing up there,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
freezing.
Was it in the winter?
It was one of the
And you're up there, and it's probably 15,000 feet. You're freezing. You didn't have enough jacket on.
No, they had all big, thick jacket and thing, but it couldn't beat the weather.
Still cold.
Oh, and then when they
Could you breathe up there? Because there wasn't good oxygen up there either.
no.
And when you landed, did it bump real hard?
Yeah.
Scare you?
Yeah. I thought maybe it was falling or something.
That's the first time you ever landed,
That's
wasn't
the
it?
first
And
time
first time
I-
you ever in a plane.
Yeah.
Well, the bomb area is not very big.
No,
That's on
I-
the bottom of the
no.
plane.
They had a time getting me situated in there to keep from cramping or.
I know cramping because you could just sit still. You're sort of where the bombs were.
Yeah.
And then what'd you do when you were in Philadelphia then? Or not Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania? What'd you do then, JD?
Well, I went to Lockbourne on Air Base.
Lockmore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that time, they put me in the office.
Uh-huh.
I was started P.C. Howard.
Clerk.
I was a clerk.
Yeah.
And then from a clerk, because they never did go back to the, they told me if I recruited again, then they could put me back into this radio program. And I said,
No
I'm not
way.
gonna recruit.
You'd already been in 2 years then.
Yeah,
You did two or 3 years. How many
That
years?
was 2 years.
2 years, and they said they'd give you a radio job if you stayed another 2 or 4.
Yeah, if I
But you-
don't stay in.
Yeah, but you told them no.
They said no, I said no. And so that 47, that was 46. And 47, I got discharged on Air Base, Lockbourne on Air Base.
At the same place, then took a train home back to Diamond, Kentucky.
Yeah,
In uniform, you wear your uniform back?
yeah.
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 You were a hero back there.
Oh, it's tough.
They gave you a lot of respect though, did they not?
Yeah,
I mean,
they did,
people
they
said
did.
anybody in uniform, they went and saved us.
Yeah, they treated you real nice.
Now, let's go back to Eglin Air Force Base. Tell me what you thought about the Tuskegee Airmen, because you saw some of those planes were painted red, some yellow on them.
Yeah.
Probably had some P-51s there, P-47s, and maybe P-40s. Do you remember any of that? Seeing those airplanes?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, they had us, actually, what they used us for really was keeping the airplanes ready in case something happened. Keeping them ready, and we supposed to have been prepared 24/7 to be on notice that we could be called at any time while we were there training or whatever. And there was just so much going on at that time.
You were a young kid, you didn't know much then.
I couldn't remember all of the things that.
But a lot was happening then. Were you at Eglin about a month? Eglin maybe a month?
About a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember those? Did they have any bombers there or just a?
Yeah, they had bombers, the B-25s.
Yeah.
And must be
But-
that little fighter plane.
Yeah, they probably had the P-51 Mustang
P-38.
and the P-38, yeah.
P-38 and the Thunderbird.
Thunderbird, that's what we made here in Evans, a Thunderbird.
Thunderbird.
We've got the place, and a lot of Tuskegee Airmen used the Thunderbird, and then later the P-51, earlier the P-38 or P-40.
Yeah.
But a lot of Tuskegee Airmen. There were 992 Tuskegee Airmen in World War II. They were real pilots.
Yeah.
Did you ever see some of those guys?
Oh, well, the only one I know is Captain Cochran.
Uh-huh.
And I was General Davis.
Yeah, Davis, I think, was one of the real...
His
Uh-huh.
son, General's son,
Uh-huh.
was over us all at that base. And he was over us, and I never saw him smile not one time. The whole 2 years that I seen him,
Yeah.
and he was just all
Business.
West Point.
Yeah.
He was all.
He was the West Point general.
Yeah, Jim.
You know, was he? I think he was the first African American ever went through West Point.
West Point. Yeah.
Now it's very amazing because they were real biased on him. They were not nice to him at West Point.
Oh,
He's
no.
the first guy that ever went through West Point as a black man or African American. First man ever, and they were tough on him. And then he did these Tuskegee Airmen, and they're the famous from World War II. And he became a general. You know, but it was very difficult.
Oh yeah, it was.
But you saw him, he was very serious all the time.
Oh, he was A1. I mean, he wanted everybody to.
Clean cut, everything, but he wasn't a general then, he was probably a major.
He was coming up to the rank.
Major or maybe,
Major.
yeah,
I think when I first knew him, he was a major.
yeah,
And then he went from colonel, major, and
general. But he's one of the most famous, you know, because they didn't even let African Americans in West Point. That was in the 30s. I think he got West Point in the 30s, and it was very difficult for him. You know, they beat him up, and you know, they abused, and I don't like to say that, but I bet they weren't nice to him. You know, it's very difficult, you know, because it's just like, what was the first baseball player, 1947? What was the first baseball player, African American? Jackie Robinson. He had a hard time in baseball, you know, because they're very biased against him. You know, even though, you know, we signed everything in 1864, life didn't change right away. Jackie Robinson had a hard time in the Major League Baseball.
yeah.
But you saw right there, but you never seen anybody so fit and so perfect as that guy. Never smiled, at General Davis, but you saw that guy.
I saw him from years ago. He was.
How many times you see him at Tuskegee? All right, maybe 10 times?
More than that.
And you see him walking, and there was nothing out of place on him, was it?
No.
He was Mr. Perfect, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Was he fat?
No, he wasn't fat. He was just a slender guy.
Yeah. But you could see how serious he was.
He had muscles and everything.
Everyone, yeah.
He wasn't fat. He was
Yeah.
just a physical image of somebody you would wish for.
Yeah,
You know, we all
was,
respected him.
oh, but he got those guys to win in World War II. You know, they went through North Africa, then Italy, and the bombing group, and he was really in charge of that. And, you know, they, 992 pilots, and most of them all American, African American. There's 5 of them from Haiti and a couple down in the Caribbean, but 900 plus, all African Americans. It was really hard to become a pilot because you didn't get a lot of training until World War II.
Yeah, I tell you, it was something.
What do you think about the next generation, about our freedom in World War II, and what do you think these next generation do? I mean, you appreciate your freedom and what you've got here, but I'm worried about, or wonder about the next generation of, do they understand how much freedom we really have?
Yeah, I don't know. I look at sometimes some things, and I just wonder how would we have reacted
Yes.
to this the way they reacted now.
Yeah. Big
Because
difference.
then you didn't have no choice.
Yeah.
Because they were all over you, and if you did something wrong, you paid for it. And they took it out on you, and even some of your neighbors, they would take it out on them
Yeah.
at nighttime. Because people said that, I remember that we had to go through some woods to get to the farm from the school bus. And come home late one night, the bus was running late, and I had on a corduroy suit. My mom and dad had bought me. And I was going through these woods, and I kept hearing something going rip, rip. And faster I got, the faster it got. And when I got to the fence at the farm, I jumped over the fence and hung my jacket on the one of those
Hooks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Barbed wire.
and screaming, and my mom and dad run out, and I said, "They got me. They got me." He said, "Who got you?" I said, "The devil got me. He's been chasing me all through the woods." They said, "Shut up, fool. You haven't been chased." I said, "Nobody's been chasing you." I said, "They got me." He said, "We got you." And I looked, and I tell you what, I was so embarrassed that I didn't want to go to school the next day because I know they were waiting on me. And they teased me for I don't know how.
Because what you thought something was chasing you, because
Yeah.
you heard a noise, probably part of your clothes
Yeah, that little corduroy.
was making noise, and you knew somebody's behind you. It
Yeah.
scared you to death.
Yeah, I said, "Well," I said, "faster I got, the faster it got."
Because it's that real thick stuff. It rubs the legs together.
Yeah.
I never thought about making that noise. And boy, that guy was going to catch you when they...
Oh man, I was flying. I was going by the house. I was going so fast.
Did that bleed? Did you bleed when you got in the barbed wire? Did you get
Well,
bleed?
it was a picket fence.
Oh, you got
The
caught
fence,
on it.
something like that. It hung on my jacket. I went to jump over the fence. It hung on my jacket and it caught me.
Yeah.
And I was out there hanging on the fence hollering.
That is a good one.
Oh, my mom and dad, they said.
Now tell me what you did. You lived in Evansville. Why'd you come to Evansville?
Well, when the war started and everything, my mom and dad moved from Providence to here, to Evansville.
Because they got jobs here, didn't they? Where did they work? At Republic or Chrysler or LST?
Shipyard and Chrysler.
And Chrysler.
Yeah.
Because that's what our museum's all about. We're talking about that because they employed about 80,000 people at all these factories here, and people came from all different places. And so our population went way up. And like you came all the way from Providence, you came because mom and dad came for jobs.
Yeah.
These jobs were well-paying jobs. The LST was well-paying, and your dad at Chrysler, your mom at Chrysler made bullets. And it was a big industry here to support the war effort. Did you have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, my brothers and sisters, they all worked in the factories too.
Were they in the army? Were they in the army? Sorry,
No, they were.
younger.
No, they were older, but my brother, he didn't pass with service.
Yeah.
They didn't draft him. So, like you said, the girls, they wasn't interested in drafting women at that time.
Did your brother and sister work in the factories here?
Yeah.
Too? Which ones they work in?
Chrysler.
Right. Uh-huh.
Chrysler, and there's another one.
Serval?
Huh? Serval.
Serval. Probably Serval. They made the wings. Chrysler made the bullets, and then the LST made the ships. So,
Yeah.
see, you had 4 people in your family working in Evansville, and they were all from Providence, Kentucky, or Diamond, Kentucky. But they had other people moving from there and everywhere. From 50 miles, they came from everywhere. And where'd mom and dad live in an apartment, or how'd they find a place? There's a lot of you.
Now, they had a farm, we had a farm.
Up here.
Down in Kentucky.
Oh, in Diamond, so.
And when the farm, when they moved up here to Evansville, they moved in with my auntie and with her sister and her husband.
Well, that
and
had.
they bought a home,
Uh-huh.
and then they started from there, and they had homes and everything for all.
But that's how it had to happen. People would move in with other people.
Yeah.
These houses were crammed with people
Oh, yeah.
because you have 80,000 workers and 60,000 new workers. They only made 18 new apartments in World War II. 1,800. There's another 58,000 people, and they had to do what you did: found family and live with family until you got on your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
And your aunt or your mother's sister or your dad's sister lived here, and that's how they got up here.
That's how they got here.
They got jobs right away too.
Oh, yeah, they were jobs before they even come up here.
In 42, probably.
Yeah.
You moved up in 42.
42, they probably.
Did you move with them?
No, I didn't move. I stayed with my auntie in Providence, Kentucky.
Down there, and then you went to school and finished school
I
out.
finished school there in Providence, and then that's when I got drafted from up here. And,
Did you work the farm at all, JD?
oh yeah.
Because that's a big deal in World War II. Everybody had to get food, and that was an important part of things.
It was, yeah.
Huh. Now, what'd you do when you moved to Evansville? What'd you do when you came back? Why'd you come back to Evansville? Why'd you go back to Diamond or Providence?
Well, I went back to Providence,
Uh-huh.
and wasn't nothing there, no work or nothing there. And I came back over here, and they told me that Whirlpool and Sear and Sunbeam all failed me in wine, and they told me that since I worked there, that's why I went into service. That not that time, that was the Korean War, I'm thinking.
Yeah, Korean War, yeah. Uh-huh. Did you go to the Korean War?
Yeah, I didn't get drafted in that one.
But you enlisted?
I worked at Whirlpool, or Sunbeam, they called it.
Yeah. And you made bullets there?
Lead man.
You were the lead man. What did you make there?
Tail for the Thunderbird.
For the Thunderbird?
Thunderbird. We made tails and wing tips
Uh-huh.
for the Thunderbird.
Yeah, you're right. So you did that. That was between the World War II and Korean War. Because we made the Thunderbird. We made the Thunderbolt here. Then we made the Thunderbird in after that, and that was sort of like a jet in a way.
Yeah.
It was a Thunderbird, and I didn't know they made that a world. It was International Harvester, or was
it was International, Cigar,
Seager,
Whirlpool. It was 3 or 4 companies that
and in the same building.
standard bill, yeah.
So you were the supervisor, and you knew a lot about it because you had more experience with planes than most people.
Yeah. They had because they made the lead man, made me the lead man, and put everybody went to school like. And I come out, and at that time they were wearing these big alcohol hats, knob shoes, big slacks. Yeah. And I come out, they called me Catman.
Yeah.
And I know all those things again. But Eddie King said, "Here comes the cat." And I said, I had my hair long and straight.
Yeah.
And I had a full head of hair.
Yeah.
And then, what they call that banana? When I don't know, it straightened my hair. It straightened my hair. My hair was down to my shoulder.
Yeah. So they called you Catman.
Catman,
And
yeah.
probably that Army experience got you the supervisory position too, because you knew how to say yes sir, no sir. It probably helped you get that job.
Well, that's probably one of the main things, because I learned a whole lot in service
Yes.
that I didn't know before I went there.
Yeah.
Because if they did have you respect.
How's-
They did respect. I mean, overdo it or whatever, but it's still respect they call it.
But you trained in a lot of things, radio and other things. You had to do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Now, what else you do when you lived in Evansville? Did you like Evansville? You lived here all your life then?
Yeah, I lived here all my life. I lived in Cleveland for a while, but not too long.
You said what?
Cleveland, Ohio. I was up there
did
for
you?
a while, yeah. But I was married before. That was before that was the first marriage we moved to Cleveland.
I see.
And I just did not go there.
You worked there in Cleveland?
Yeah, they had me a job before I left here going up there.
Uh-huh.
I worked there about a week and I told them, no, I just didn't like it.
Came back here.
Came back
You worked
here.
for them Whirlpool the rest of the
Went
time?
back to Whirlpool and hired me back with my same seniority.
Wow. Uh-huh.
No, I'd been 2 or 3 places different, but Whirlpool always hired me back.
Huh.
And they hired my wife as a supervisor out there too, but they didn't hire her for the years that I worked out there because she had put in for her, but they didn't hire her. Because they said I was too friendly and people were friendly with me, which were women and the guys and all.
Yeah.
And they said they didn't know how she would take it
Yeah.
out there, and they wouldn't hire her, and she come in another way. And Catherine Tate said, she was over everybody, she said, all the time. She said that everything on how to do, you know J.D. Jones? She said, that's my husband. Catherine said, son of a gun, how did we miss it? And that's, miss what? So that's, I know y'all been skirting around me, in the here, there, and whatever. She said, yeah, but we know J.D. is new on the job, and he's friendly, and everybody's friendly with him, and we don't know how you would take it, seeing him trying to test out another woman and trying to do a job.
Yeah.
My wife said, I ain't got nothing to do with that, and Catherine Tate said that was one of the best mistakes she ever made. Because that woman did do her job, but she did her job, but she didn't like telling people what to do.
Yes.
And I was telling Catherine about it, she said, telling you what to do is a lot different than telling somebody else
Yes.
that worked for you in another place. So she said, no, she's up here thinking, see, and when they went to Alcoa.
Uh-huh.
You didn't go to Alcoa. They went to Alcoa, and Alcoa told her, said, we're here to do a supervisor, training supervisor. It's, they take it for $4. Training supervisor, well, she said, I didn't want it down, I sure didn't want it up here. And I said, one day they'll hire you, but instead of talking like that to them, they ain't got the foot in the door yet.
Right.
She
Right.
said they said they never had any problem with her,
So they hired her.
They hired her.
Yeah, they hired her, yeah.
Well, she retired there in
Wow. What year?
93 or...
Wow. She had a lot of years in there. 40 years.
I don't remember what it was, 97, I can't...
Wow. That's a lot of years at Whirlpool.
Yeah.
Sorry we lost that company. Well, do you have any questions for me or about Tuskegee, or do you have any questions for him about things that would make it enriching?
Oh, it's been really interesting.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna make a copy of this for you and give it to you. Okay. JD or James Douglas or James Douglas or Douglas James Jones, James Douglas Jones, and born in, we think, October 20th, but his birth certificate says October 22nd, and he has now a first name James, so he doesn't have JD anymore. So we learned a lot of things, and it's just really interesting talking to you. And before you leave town, if you come out to this museum, you can see a lot of World War II stuff that you'd appreciate, because a lot of things were made at Whirlpool. Your mom and dad probably made some of this stuff. We got a lot of the Chrysler stuff, a lot of the LST stuff,
Yeah.
and Sunbeam and Serval. And before you leave, you ought to come out there, because I think you would be interested in it, because your whole family made those things in World War II.
Okay.
Love to have you out there. We're open Thursday through Sunday, 12 to 4. And I think you would appreciate it, because mom and dad made a lot of stuff, and your brother and sister. Yeah. Well, thank you for your time. Sorry to interrupt here. I know we're going to visit and watch a football game.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's me.
Okay. All right. Be good now. Thank you, JD.